And I mean, your resume is impressive. I mean,
Thank you,
again,
man.
over
Thanks,
20
man.
fights in Muay Thai
Thanks,
just as a
brother.
pro.
Yeah.
Glory. I mean,
Yeah.
you were kind of selling it short earlier with me, but I mean, you fought Mike Lemaire twice.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
we're arguably winning that second fight
Yeah.
until the end. You cut him real bad. Now it's for Lion fights. And,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
he's fighting in Glory on main cards. So, I mean, that's a big deal. You've got quite the experience. King Mo is certainly not your first top-tier opponent that you're facing.
Man. Appreciate that, man. Yeah, I'm really excited to like let the MMA community know that I'm here and I belong. Yeah. That's what I've just been wanting to do from the jump. Before I moved here, even I wanted to turn everything around and like not be a journeyman. You know, yeah. I just had a kind of a journeyman's mentality for years before, yeah. And I just, you know, doing it for the love of doing it. That's great when you don't mind being a bum. Like if you don't mind just working at a bar and just whatever, getting drunk on weekends, that's fine. Like if that's what you want to do, I was proud of that. Like I have no, you know, I had no, I didn't equate fiscal success with martial success. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's very candid, and I think it's where a lot of people were until maybe the Rondas and the Connors came into it. I mean, you had to have that mentality because you weren't making money before unless you were Chuck Liddell or Tito Ortiz. Right. And they were doing the stuff outside that Connor's doing. You know, Connor wasn't the first. He's just the loudest at the right time while everything's kind of peaking.
The vibe. Right. Yeah. I mean, he's a phenomenon, man.
Yeah.
He is a unicorn.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Like the Rondas, the Connors, you know what I mean? The Brock Lesnar's from WWE, they can take all those eyes, you know, from other places. But yeah, I just think the martial arts game, especially for MMA, has changed so much. I mean, in 2019, compare this to even like 10 years ago, 2009. That was tough, right? That was when the first Tough came out. Like, look at the level. Yeah. Like, it's night and day, you know what I mean? And before that, 10 years before that, it's like, okay, it doesn't look like the same sport.
Right.
You know, it doesn't at all.
Absolutely.
So it's cool to see. And I think the exposure online that everyone has, I think that's done a lot for everyone to up their game. Like we were talking about earlier with Muay Thai, like people can they can watch Thai champions and they can just watch all the footage they want, more than they could ever digest, you know? So it's like, that's going to change the way the culture evolves globally.
This is The Prize Fighting Business. I'm your host, Daniel Casado, and today my interview guest is Andrew Kapel, a professional prize fighter and mixed martial artist that trains with Elevation Fight Team in Denver, Colorado. He's currently preparing for the biggest fight of his career when he takes on the living legend King Mo Muhammad Lawal in a Bellator 233 matchup in Thackerville, Oklahoma. He was kind enough to sit down with me before this fight to discuss his journey up to this point and how he's preparing for this fight that could honestly change his life if he were to win. So let's get into my conversation with Andrew Kapel. Andrew, thank you for joining me.
Yeah, great to be here, Dan. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. So you've got arguably the biggest fight of your career coming up against King Mo Lawal, former Strikeforce champion, and it's going to be in your Bellator debut at a catchweight bout.
Absolutely.
So that's November 8th?
8th, correct.
Cool. So coming up here in a couple weeks, how you feel?
Oh, excellent, man. You know, like, have you ever heard that phrase, when your ship has come in? That's like, they said that because like for decades, like there was a big bunch of stuff that was coming in for somebody and it wasn't like, and you could be waiting forever and be dying and like nothing's coming your way and everything's bad. And then it finally comes in and your life turns around. It's like you can feed your family and you can do everything. That's how it feels for me right now, man.
Wow.
I feel like, this is the culmination of what I've been striving toward. It's the window I get to jump through. I was very close to just having to quit completely, walk away from the sport. I would say retire, but I didn't make any money. So I'm just quitting because I couldn't do that to my family and just like keep chasing a dream that's not producing fruit.
Yeah.
So this to me is everything to me. It's the culmination of what I've been working toward. So, and it's a big challenge and I'm up for it, man. I'm fucking up for it. Can I swear?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And that's awesome, man. I mean, what a powerful analogy. I love that. And I think it is, you know, sometimes people might think that type of speech is hyperbolic, but I mean, in reality, this is your call up to the big show. Not only that, it's not that you're just fighting on a preliminary card. This is your opportunity to put a big name on the resume and, you know, to be completely honest, an advantageous time to fight him. You know, it's not only him coming back from retirement, but it's going to be his last fight.
100%.
And,
100%.
you know, coming off a rough spot for him and been out for over a year. So, I mean,
100%.
what do you think about that
Yeah, it's
opportunity?
a huge. I mean, talking to my manager when we had this opportunity on the table, I was kind of, I don't know King Mo. I haven't followed King Mo's career closely, but I knew, hard wrestler, hard hitter,
Right.
like that's not a great, and he's bigger than me, and he's more,
Because you're
established.
naturally a middleweight.
Yeah, I'm a middleweight, exactly, and I'm not a big middleweight, but um, so I was kind of skeptical, but like, and I looked up his record, I've looked up his arc and just where his career's been, and my manager's like, look, man, we can do a lot with this. The upside is huge, and so I'm like, let's fucking do it, man.
Right.
Like I was, at first I was kind of skeptical about it. I'm in a spot in my career, especially like in the past few years, where I've been trying to be as intelligent as possible about taking fights and about what I'm doing with preparation for fights, all of that stuff, because all the mistakes I've made in the past, I'm doing my best to learn from all of those, and and learn from other people's stories and just kind of get something out of this besides just a destroyed body. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's just felt like such a big. It feels almost unreal still that it's like it's come, because training's still going. I'm always training. I'm always doing what I'm doing, but to have the actual opportunity, like the chance. I always thought it was going to be UFC or like Contender Series or something else, but just to main card Bellator against one of their legends, like that's quite a statement. You know what I mean?
And a fight that's going to be promoted quite heavily, being that it's his retirement fight, his comeback fight all in one.
Of course.
I mean, what a showcase potential opportunity for you.
Because I'm a dark horse, man. No one knows
right.
who I am. You know what I mean? And people comment that online. They'll be like, who's this guy? Who's that? Because I think a lot of the pool has been drained of talent for the most part, through like Contender Series, through the Ultimate Fighter show, through, Bellator picking everyone up too, and like they're trying to build their roster. So most talent is out there or been out there. Like I am kind of an anomaly. I'd never pursued a reality TV show. I never tried to chase down fame of any fortune or fortune, unfortunately. But I always improved my skills, and I always tried to improve as a martial artist. So that was my journey. And when I had a family, my priorities massively have shifted of like, what can I do with this?
Right.
What am I doing the right thing? And it's been hard, man, since I moved out here. Like I thought moving out here would be the catalyst for change. I thought I'd have, the new coaches, the new contacts, the new different people, the political game would shift in my favor, and it just wasn't that case. I got great training. I got great feedback from a lot of high-level people in terms of that regard, but just the fights weren't coming, you know? And I was prepared to fight on the local circuit for as long as it took to just keep slaying them. And it wasn't happening frequently enough, and it was just really disheartening. But to have it finally come, man, it's like, it's hard to put into words how it's gonna make me feel. I'll probably break down and cry, after if I can put them away, you know what I mean? Or even if it gets to points like, I'm gonna fight with all my heart. So
that's awesome, man. I'm so excited for it.
Yeah,
but
cheers.
And you were speaking before the fight. It's not your first time being in this position. First time maybe in Bellator on the one of the biggest promotions in the world at this stage, but you've been put in this position where you're essentially brought in to lose to the hometown guy, the guy that's selling the tickets, multiple times in your career, and multiple times you've come out on top in that situation.
Well, that's the political conundrum I was faced with, right? Like I'd be brought in as a guy to lose to whoever they want to promote. One person did that recently, and they just didn't do their homework on me. I looked on paper like a similar opponent to the guy they wanted to build up, and I just walked right through him. And even she's told me that when she handed me the check, she said, "You weren't supposed to win." And it's like, yeah, I know. Like, and the place is quiet when I shut him down. Yeah, it's cool. It feels cool to silence a crowd. And I think the Bellator people, it's a win-win for them, to be honest. Like they either have a new guy on the scene that they can promote and they get it fresh so they can bring it in, or they send off their guy with a win and you know what I mean, and farewell, and you've been great for us, and it's either way it wins. So.
I hadn't thought about that angle, but that is very true. It is win-win for them because
gotta be smart.
What a highlight tape if should you win, when you win, what a highlight tape that is going to be for Bellator to promote you going forward. The guy that beat King Mo, the Strikeforce former champion.
And I feel like I've really, I'm a fairly cerebral dude, and I feel like I've put a lot of that energy into the fight, the technical side of the fight game more, and so much less into my actual career until recently. And I think recently, and I look at it from all angles, from the manager side, from the promoter side, like what are they trying to accomplish? Where's the head at from the fighters in the game? Are they just kind of a dunce and they just do whatever? Some guys are just, not too bright, but they're like really capable, and then you have other guys who are like super intellectual, but they can't take a punch. So like you have a whole mix of personalities and types of people and whatever. So it's it feels great to finally have like an avenue to showcase my skills.
Absolutely. Yeah, quite the platform. So what does this this matchup feel like to you? I mean, like you mentioned, he's a wrestler. You've got a Muay Thai background, considerable experience. I mean, you have the ability to adapt wherever this fight goes. Elevation is known for their wrestling in camp, their general grinding ability. You have a Muay Thai background. You fought for lion fights. You fought for glory. So, I mean, you know how to strike, clearly, and you have the wrestling practice. So, I mean, how do you see this fight going?
Yeah, the thing is, see, when you're when you're a better striker than somebody, like you're a better striker than them, you can still get hit.
Of
like
course.
It's not really like you're a better submission art. Like if you're both really good jiu-jiteros, whatever that's called, if you're both really good, it's very unlikely, or if one's really good and one's not very good, it's very unlikely they're going to catch you in a lucky submission, right? I mean, it happens, but like when there's such a disparity in skill, it's just so much less likely. But when you're both swinging at full speed and you're trying to kill each other with the strikes, even if you're better, you see it all the time in high level striking. You know what I mean? That's why it's a puncher's chance. So I think this fight is more about me dictating where my feet are, like where to shut down his wrestling and just kind of take the center. And then realistically, it's kind of some of the intangibles. I think who's going to want it more? Who's going to want to finish it? I mean, I think he can hit me hard, and if he lands a clean shot, I mean, I've never been KO'd, but it could happen, and especially if he gets me on the mat where I can't hit him back.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So I'm thinking of all the downsides that could potentially happen, just so I'm mentally as prepared as possible, and I'm spending at least as much time, more time, positively visualizing, just thinking of all the ways that I can break him, and I can make the fight mine, and I can make the night mine. So yeah, I've been thinking about it nonstop.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Is that something you've done throughout your career as far as visualization, or is that something you picked up later on?
No, absolutely not. I think my base in Muay Thai, like, it's more about the styles, right? Or like I mean, it's less about the styles. It's more about the form of Muay Thai. So like, let's say the rule set's Muay Thai, like you have to conform to whatever is what's gonna happen. Like I can just keep kicking you and blocking, and there's like a paradigm that both fighters have to kind of adhere to in terms of the scoring, in terms of the way the format of the rounds are.
Right.
If you're kind of got a wacky style, like I have a good example. I have a lot of stories. Dan, sorry.
Go for it.
Yeah, but like
like
for example, one of my main influences in Muay Thai, his name's Nat McIntyre, and he a lighter guy, and he really nice knock Muay, like really good Thai boxer, and he fought an Egyptian dude. This is a long time ago when I was first before I was pro even in Minnesota, and this Egyptian guy was just all over the place, right? Just like moving and dancing and just real weird styles, kicking high and moving, like just kind of like. What's that dude's name? I can't think of. Anyway, whatever. Nat couldn't get a beat on him, and so he might have lost the first round or second round, but nothing was really happening. He was just getting kind of frustrated, and finally he started chopping his leg. In the second round, he started chopping it because that was always there, right? It was always available. And the dude's style is just going to succumb to that because it's 5 rounds. Like, he's not going to take that for 5 rounds if he can't check a kick properly, if he's just relying on moving. And if Nat's got good, strong, sound defense, then the other dude's going to get his leg chopped off. And what happened is the dude just kept getting his leg chopped off. And then pretty soon, third round, Nat put it high on his neck. And that was it. I think it actually got him in the face. And dude couldn't fly out of the country because his face was fractured. Like, he was like, and the New York fans loved it, man, because they were like that Friday Night Fights like crowd. They're like Nak Moy, like a small community. And that guy was really disrespectful, I guess. And they were just like cheering, and he was pumping the crowd up. So that was a good example of like how you have to learn Muay Thai if you're fighting in Muay Thai at a high level. You can make it your own. Like, everyone's got their own, weapons and tendencies, but it's not so dynamic that like you can deviate real far with something totally obscure and not be exploited over time. You might win a couple fights, you might do well, but over time you'll be exploited.
Right.
So I don't know, that kind of taught me, I don't know where we started.
No,
that
I mean just
conversation,
the
but-
matchup with King Mo. I mean,
King
your
Mo,
your
right.
Muay Thai style is
Yeah, and yeah, where I was
You're
going with
fine.
that is like the base of MMA is more wrestling. I
Yes.
mean, if you let the fight happen, however it's going to happen, the wrestler is going to dictate where the fight goes.
Mhm.
Like if they're initiating, so you have to anticipate that and shut that down early. And then if you can't be shutting it down, then you can't just accept the takedown, and you have to be fighting and working and making them work. And so that's another reason why I like this matchup, because style-wise, he has to have his heart in it
Yep.
and his attitude right.
And fitness.
And fitness, exactly. He has to
Yeah.
have all those pieces for his game to play out, because he has a great style for MMA.
Sure.
I mean, it's wrestle boxing. It's
Mhm.
like two most important things in MMA. Whereas like I have more skills in more nuance. Like I have the submissions, I mean, I have really good off my back, and I have the kicking game.
Yeah.
But against a really good wrestler, you have to be pretty wise about how to use your kicks. You can't just
Right.
let them fly.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, that I was going to ask about that,
Yeah.
because you are seeing like Israel Adesanya. His style is very clean on the feet, and then avoid that takedown,
He's
shuck it off.
also very snipery. I
Yes,
like that.
yes.
He's very snipery. But a lot of it too comes down to footwork, comes down
Yep.
to his distance control and knowing where he's at, knowing to circle off the cage. He doesn't let himself just get trapped up against the cage.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
doesn't, he dictates the distance. That's really the game that's the same between wrestling and between striking. And then if you have the striking acumen, you can apply that, knowing, as long as you have the instincts of wrestling too,
Right.
knowing that it's a dynamic game, man.
Yeah,
It's so
and-
crazy to see it all on footage.
Oh, I
now.
love
Like,
it. Well, and you have over 15 Muay Thai kickboxing fights. You have
over 20, I think.
cool over 20, and
If
you
you
have
don't count
20
amateur, I got 20 pro. I got
Okay.
probably 20 amateur too.
Yeah, I mean, so
yeah.
I think what you were speaking to earlier is like that fight IQ can be a big difference as
Sure.
well. I mean, not only the cardio, not only the heart, but the fight IQ, taking a step out here, countering here.
Sure.
I mean, is that like game plan wise? Is that something you think about? Maybe don't throw body kicks early, or what do you?
Sure, yeah,
more
yeah.
knees in the clinch.
Right. It's it's a lot of visualization. It all kind of ties together.
Yeah,
I think
yeah. Of
I
course.
try to think of weapons I can use well, and then I test them out in practice, and then shadow them and just see how it goes. And like you said, being fluid and able to adapt to whatever's happening, that's huge in the fight game. Like when I was doing Muay Thai, it was very much like I just followed the formula of Muay Thai. Hit pads, I hit the
Yes.
person like I hit pads, and just make it look good.
Most people train the same.
Yeah,
in
everyone
Muay
trains the
Thai.
same, because that's how you score it, and that's
Yeah.
how it wins. And you develop a timing in that way, and you just go in, and it takes so much. I never had to watch a video on any of my opponents. I mean, if I did, it wasn't very helpful or hurtful. It was just like whatever. Didn't really matter,
Mhm.
Whereas I think with MMA and the dynamic aspect of it, it helps a lot, and it makes a big difference in the game. There's so much you can go into the game planning side of it, you know what I mean? Knowing what to expect, because what they do and what they don't do.
Right.
Like I'm not going to go out there and King Mo's not going to start kicking me all over the place.
Right.
Like he might throw a couple leg kicks, but like
Right.
it's not his game, right?
Yeah.
It'll be something he's doing to distract me from what he really wants to do.
I think that's what's so interesting. I mean, on
Yeah.
paper, you have more ways to win, in my opinion. Like, there's only really one way, I guess 2 ways for King Mo to win, right?
Mhm.
Land a big punch or grind it out in a wrestling style.
Yeah, and I expect that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and you've got the training with elevation. I mean, how many guys there have that strong wrestling base?
Man, yeah, a lot of them, man. It's with this squad, I haven't had a chance to talk about that, but like the elevation, man, I've been really fortunate to follow with them. I think, especially with Neil being the captain and like
Yeah.
the tone he sets.
Neil
And-
Magny, yeah.
yeah, Neil Magny. So like, and just the talent level of all the people there. There's such an array of individuals, and everyone's really cool, man. Like
Mhm.
we all get along, we all support each other, and there's a lot of talent, and also the coaches. There's a real dynamic flow of like, no one's, it's not too. Everyone kind of checks each other, and they all have their own fighters, and everyone's helping each other. It just feels like it has a really good chemistry,
Yeah.
And I
You can tell.
exactly. And I feel like I enjoy going into practice. I'm excited to like see other people succeed. It's a little bittersweet when I'm so close. Now it's like it's finally here, but like I've been so close to success, and watching everyone be so successful. Like for example, Corey
Yes.
Sandhagen, he just had 2 LFA fights when he had them after I moved here. So I saw him. I watched him at work fighting on the LFA on TV when they had the deal, and he pieced up some dude who was actually had a really good record, who was really good, and then he had another quick turnaround one where he KO'd the guy, and then they signed him right away. And so like now he's close to fighting for a title, and it's
He
like
might be one fight away,
exactly,
if not
exactly.
next,
And so
next
he's
in line.
and granted, we're in much different positions. We're
Sure,
different people. Like,
sure.
I'm not saying that
It's just
I
interesting to
deserve what
see,
he is.
though.
Yeah, like it happened. Boom,
Yeah,
2 years.
yeah,
Boy has gone from like total obscurity to world champion, and
yeah,
and he'll be there. Like he'll be a champ sooner or later.
right.
But like, just to see that happen and to get on those vibes, those energies,
Yeah,
same with like all the other guys.
yeah. Gage's in there.
Gaethje's in with us,
Yeah,
yeah, and Curtis been killing it. We got
Curtis.
Austin
Yep.
signed now, and there'll be other guys coming up, man. There's people
Yeah,
on the team that like, you got a bunch of names on here. They'll make their mark. You know what I mean?
yeah.
They just keeps
Absolutely.
grinding, keep sticking with it, and get fights, and they can show what they can do.
Yeah,
So
and I mean, your resume is impressive. I mean,
thank you,
again,
man.
over
Thanks,
20
man.
fights in Muay Thai
Thanks,
just as a
brother.
pro.
Yeah,
Glory. I mean,
yeah,
you were kind of selling it short earlier with me, but I mean, you fought Mike Lemaire twice,
yeah,
and I mean,
yeah,
we're arguably winning that second fight
yeah,
until the end. You cut him real bad. Now it's
yeah,
for Lion fights, and
yeah.
he's fighting in Glory on main cards. So I mean, that's
Sure,
a big deal. You've got
sure.
quite the experience. King Mo is certainly not your first top tier opponent that you're
Thank you, man.
facing.
Appreciate that, man. Yeah, I'm really excited to like let the MMA community know that I'm here and I belong.
Yeah,
That's what I've just been wanting to do from the jump. Before I moved here, even I wanted to turn everything around and like not be a journeyman.
yeah,
I just had a kind of a journeyman's mentality for years before,
yeah.
and I just doing it for the love of doing it. That's
Mm,
great when you don't mind being a bum. Like
mm-hmm,
if you don't mind just working at a bar and just whatever, getting
mm-hmm,
drunk on weekends, that's fine. Like
mm-hmm.
if that's what you want to do, I was proud of that. Like I
Sure.
have no, I had no, I didn't equate fiscal success with martial success. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's very candid, and I think it's where a
Yeah.
lot of people were until maybe the
Yeah.
Rondas and the Connors came into it. I
Yeah,
mean, you
change the
had to
game.
have that mentality because you weren't
Yeah,
making
you
money
make money.
before unless you were
Exactly.
Chuck Liddell or Tito
Exactly.
Ortiz,
Right.
and they were doing the stuff outside that Connor's doing. Connor wasn't the
Right.
first; he's just the
Right.
loudest at the right time
Right.
while everything's kind of
Catching the
peaking.
vibe.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah. I mean, he's a phenomenon, man.
yeah,
He is a unicorn.
yeah,
But yeah, you're right. Like the Rondas, the Connors, you know what I mean? The Brock Lesnar's from
right,
WWE, they can take all those eyes, from
yeah,
other places. But yeah, I just think the martial arts game, especially for MMA, has changed so much. I mean,
yes,
in 2019, compare this to even like 10 years ago,
absolutely,
2009. That was tough, right? That was when the
yeah,
first Tough came out. Like, look at the level.
yeah,
Like, it's night and day. You know what I mean? And before that, 10 years before that, it's like, okay, it doesn't look like the same sport.
right,
It doesn't at all.
absolutely,
So it's cool to see. And I think the exposure online that everyone has, I think
mm,
that's done a lot for everyone to up their game. Like we were
yeah,
talking about earlier with Muay Thai, like people they can watch Thai champions and they can just watch all the footage they want, more than they could ever digest, So it's
yeah,
like that's going to change the way the culture evolves globally,
absolutely,
because there's little pockets, regionally that's always been happening. Like in Denver, Denver's got its own history,
yep,
of like Ludwig and,
first
Elliot
UFC
and
ever,
yeah, exactly.
yeah,
And but the people here who lived out here, like they have their own history, and there's always pockets out in
yes.
America and Brazil and
Most of the
whatever, Japan.
gyms are led by people that at one point were all training
Oh,
together.
of course. Yeah, because people have histories. They like,
Yeah,
the game is 30 years old now, 40 years old,
yeah,
something like
yeah,
that. Like, so people have been doing it their whole lives,
yeah. And
Yeah.
you're on a 4-fight win streak yourself. Like you said, you've been in this game for a minute. You've
Right.
started when you're 17. So
Yeah,
this is
my
your
first amateur Thai boxing fight was
so
17.
17 years later, you're still in the game and built up quite the
I
resume.
am.
So
Yeah, man, I've had a lot of fights. I've trained with a lot of really high level people. I've traveled a bunch. I feel like I've really become like who I am. I've become a man, and it was really difficult for those couple years where I didn't get a chance to be busy and like showcase my developing skills and like, you know, and test it out. I just was floundering, and I couldn't get a
Sure.
fights. So it was really difficult, I think, psychologically for me. And
I can imagine.
yeah, and it's just huge to finally have the chance. Like, wow, it's finally here.
Yeah.
Like, it's happening.
Yeah.
I can do it. So, yeah, man, I'm super excited about this
That's
fight.
awesome.
I don't know if you want to hear more about like all like day-to-day training or like
Yeah,
what
yeah.
you're
So I
trying to
mean,
get into.
you alluded to the idea that 4-fight win streak. This has been tough to find fights regionally.
For sure, yeah.
All
I've
these
said that
people
probably, like,
just want to
6
bring you
times.
in. Yeah.
Yeah, bro.
So how do you? I mean, when you're selecting your fight camp for this, what does it look like? I mean, do you change anything? Like,
Yeah, of course. Well, yes and no, right? Like, the routine of like training stays basically the same,
okay.
but like the specific, like when you have a very specific opponent and a visualization and a game plan, you whittle those down, right? Like if I'm fighting someone who's a kickboxer, then I'm going to have a completely different approach to how am I going to implement my game plan. And a lot of that, to be honest, is just is just mental practice. You know what I mean? Because like you never know, a fight's chaos. Like it can happen anywhere. That's why you need to be good at everything. You know, jiu-jitsu, you have to be able to get up if you're on bottom. You have to keep them down if you want to keep them down. You have to, you know, be aware mentally to just flow from position to position. I think that develops with time, working with other people, working with other things. So I think what it is for me though is just staying in a routine of like what I'm always doing anyway, you know, because I was in the mentality of since I got here is I can always take that call. So I'm always trying to maintain like a pretty high level of training. Like I'm always fit. I'm always ready to jump in there. I don't do the thing where I fall off and then I got to build up and I fall off and I build up. My weight's always on point. Like, so as long as I'm not burning myself out and overdoing it, then I can start ramping it up and, you know, barring any injury or whatever, I can be ready to go at any given time. So that's been my approach since I've been out here.
Cool. And what brought you out here? I mean, you're from Minnesota originally.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have family out here, but my family, like, just the motivation to make things happen. Gertz was out here. He's from Minnesota.
Brandon Gertz. Yeah. Bellator as well.
Yep. He'll be out there with Grant Neal. They're on the same card.
Yeah. He's headlining cards at this point.
Yeah. I think his big breakthrough was Melvin Gillard. When he beat him. He like that skyrocketed him a bunch, but he's been successful out here. He's been Gaethje's boy for a long time. Pat and Rose moved out here. They were spent some time in Minnesota, and they're, you know, Rose is blowing up, being super successful, obviously. And just like the vibe out here when I came to visit, I actually cornered a teammate who fought someone from Elevation, fought Bojan, who I'm cool with. I really like
Bojan Velikovic.
Yeah, man, he's super cool. He fought my friend Ben Smith for the RFA title, and I came down to corner Ben, and Bo beat him with a guillotine. But I trained a little bit out here, and I was like kind of scouting at the time. Even I was thinking, man, I do need to move somewhere, like, because Minnesota, I love like my home base and all the people out there, but it's the scene had moved on from there. Like all the high level people had moved somewhere else.
I see.
It just kind of had changed a lot, and it just wasn't suited to what I needed to accomplish if I wanted to chase this dream down.
Yeah.
So I just had to make that move, and it wasn't easy. I had to leave my brother behind, and I had to kind of sort some things out at home. And but then I felt like Denver was a really cool place when I just visited briefly, and I was like, let's pull the trigger. And like, where else am I going to go? I can't afford California.
Sure.
I don't want to go to Florida. So like, where am I going to go? Where's a good martial arts scene that I can grow and I can be better? And I was welcomed with open arms by guys like Neil and Drew. And I knew Drew from the Muay Thai scene, the Midwest. So I knew a lot of the faces, you know, and everyone was super cool. And that was actually the days of Muscle Farm, when Muscle Farm was going on. Elevation was affiliated with them. I mean, that dissolved, but the team had still remained, and it kind of tightened up a bit. And I still got in when like the team was tightening up, and I feel like I'm really part of that squad now.
Nice.
So
yeah, lots of history, like you said, in Denver. So when did you move?
I have to look at a calendar. My boy was like just past 1.
Okay.
So he's born in February, so it was in the summer.
So a couple
July.
years ago.
Yeah, it was 2 years ago, I think.
Okay.
In this summer, it'll be 3 years, I think.
So, I mean, have these 4 wins in a row all come since you've moved to Team Elevation?
Yes and no. The first one was booked. I prepared for that mostly at home, and then I came here for like a month.
Okay.
And then finished up training here. I moved and everything, so I had a little break, but I was running a lot, and I felt super fit. That was against Stroop. And then I was struggling to get, and then I was supposed to have an LFA fight, and actually my hand went totally numb.
Oh, wow.
It was really weird. It was again one of those things where back in the day, wouldn't have thought twice, would have just fought anyway. And I kind of wish I would have, and with all the other stuff I learned subsequently. But my hand, I couldn't even make a fist. Like I couldn't bear weight; it would collapse. Like it was very weird. It was a nerve thing, and I got it from a massage a week before the fight. And I was so stressed about it because I'm like, oh my God, I can't jab, I can't grab, I can't do anything. I have one arm, and I was just panicked about it. And I'm like, this isn't the UFC. Why do I have to fulfill this, you know? And actually how it worked out is Ben, the guy I cornered before, had fought the guy I was supposed to fight, Gilbert, and he came in and replaced me, but Ben's been on a couch for a year, and there wasn't any way he was going to win that fight. But he still gave him a good fight, you know, and they saved the fight, so it didn't cost the LFA anything. But yeah, LFA just kind of always shut me down. I think there was a long history with promoters in the past, or, you know, managers in the past back in Minnesota, and whatever. So I just never got on that train. They scooped up all those middleweights from the LFA, you know, and I just kind of missed that boat politically, you know, again. But then, let's see. So what was after that? Let's see. I fought Maurice after that, I think. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I think I did. And that's the one in that I smoked him real fast. I threw him and choked him, and I was brought in to lose. Yep. And he was a little fire hydrant, man. I did not want to get hit with those hooks. He's kind of like, like a spring, like when you wind up a spring and then you let it go, it just like whips really fast. He had a range of like this much, but if your jaw's on that line, you're dead.
Yeah.
So I just was like trying to stay long and whatever, and it went the way it did. And then let's see, and then there was another long layoff, man. It was I think it was a rest until that VFC fight came, and I fought Novacek, and I was so dumb. I just laid down and hit him, basically the whole time. And luckily they awarded on damage, not position. Yeah. So I was worried I lost that fight.
But you had him cut up though.
I busted him up. Yeah. I definitely won the fight, like from a damage perspective. He was wrecked. But
so who are your coaches in the corners during these fights? Like who are your coaches?
Sean, okay, let's see. So the first fight was my old coaches, Dylan Spicer from Academy of Combat Arts up in Fargo. He came down, and then another old teammate, Mel, came down to corner me for that. And then Nicholas Compton, he came too. He was here for a little while, but then he's moved back since. They cornered me for that first fight because I just moved here. And the second fight, actually, Drew and Dave came out like at the drop of the hat, man. They're just like ride or die. They
Drew Dober and Dave Zabriskie?
Yep.
Nice.
Yep. They came out and cornered me for that fight. And then the third one, it was Sean and Neil was in my corner. It was Sean, Neil, and Dave. Yeah, Dave's been in my corner for all my fights. So
a wrestler. A high-level wrestler, too.
Hell yeah, man. Dude,
good guy to have in your corner for this fight.
Absolutely.
So do you know who will be in your corner for this fight?
Yeah, Dave and Peter. Cool. So cool. Peter Straub is black belt under Easton. He's got quite a mind for it. And I like how he talks in the corner. He's very step by step and matter of fact. He's kind of an A-type personality. Yeah. And Dave's much more easygoing, low key, laid back. But I think it's a good chemistry. You know what I mean? And we're gonna go in there and commit. How did
you decide on those guys being in your corner? How did you decide on working with them?
We'll ask them if they're available and like see what their schedule's like and if they're interested. And it's more about asking them. I'm not gonna tell them what I'm.
But these are guys you have a connection with. I mean, absolutely. It's not just someone in the gym.
No. I mean, this is such a big thing for me too. Sure. So, yeah. I mean, I would it'd be great if like my old coach Dylan Spicer would come too, but like I can't be inviting everybody that's been on the journey, right? So, sure. And I want to also be bringing the guys who be watching me training and have a connection with that way. So I think it'll be really good.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. So you have Dave Zabriskie wrestling.
I think
Dave Zabriskie wrestling. You have Peter Straub.
He's jiu-jitsu.
And then Sean's working with you on the striking.
He is, but he won't be there because he's out of town that weekend.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what is day to day in camp looking like?
So like for my day-to-day camp, the week is kind of like scheduled out. The pro practices are at 1 usually. So like, for example, I mean, you can pick any day, but like Monday I do strength and conditioning on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So
who's that with?
With Landau's.
Landau Performance?
Yeah, cool. So the squad's all on that. We all on
so
the
3 days a week, strength and performance.
And then Monday is wrestling. So I'll like lift, and then I'll have like an hour and a half to rest, and then I'll wrestle. And usually after that, I'm shot, man. Yeah. Like it's a hard day. Wrestling's hard. I do that, and then Tuesday is a sparring day. So if I'm not in camp or if I'm not really focused on like being sharp for my sparring, I'll like run or something. I'll do something else in the morning.
Okay, so you do cardio outside of the strength and performance too?
For sure. Yeah. Not just 3 days. I'll do like that plus like a couple days a week running or running hills. Like that's what I'd be doing.
Nice.
So then like Tuesday will be a big glove sparring day. So it's like shoot boxing, so takedowns, but big gloves. That's at 1, and then I usually work on Tuesday. I used to work Wednesday and Thursday. Like Wednesday's a really hard morning session for strength conditioning, and then I'll do like a more of a technical class. Either go to Dave has a really good group in Boulder, and there's also Cody Donovan teaches a really good pro practice at 1 at high altitude martial arts. There's so many good classes to go to, but I sprinkled in it. But yeah, usually at 1 o'clock there's like a pro practice. So like a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, those are all at 1. Thursday there's a really good class at 1 that Elliot runs or the jiu-jitsu guys run. We work jiu-jitsu positions and situationals. And then Friday is small glove sparring day, and that starts at 2, and that's just like dress rehearsal for fight. So everyone gets very much in their game, and everyone's very cool with taking care of each other. We have small gloves on. A lot of people don't even wrap their hands because you're pulling your punches, but you're pushing the volume, pushing the pace. You're making everyone really work. There's cage rounds for people who have fights. There's a little less intense, but also intense rounds in like a caged area. And there's like an open mat area, which is usually more chill, but still, it's Friday, so everyone's sparring pretty good. But that's like a typical week. And then Saturday, guys like tend to like do drilling classes or
Okay.
some other like technical build up, or maybe they'll go on like a trail run or do something different. And I think Sunday is the rest day.
Nice.
So for me, I was sprinkling
6 days a
lots of
week.
work. Yeah. So for me, I was also working, so I had to balance that.
Yeah. So tell me
Yeah.
about that. I mean, before the show, you just alluded to the idea
Yeah.
that you're not really working in this setting anymore. You were working in the bar, but for this
Yeah.
fight, you're gonna take it kind of full-time approach.
Yeah, yes and no. Like, I just needed to be off my feet a little bit more for this fight, and I I don't want to just walk on them because they've been good to me. It's been a good job, you know.
Yeah.
It's suited me well, and I like the people there. So it's been. I don't want to just ghost them,
Yeah.
you know. Even though it's like I am kind of mentally doing that because I'm 100% focused on what this is, and because this can
You have
change
to be.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can change everything for me. So it's definitely necessary, and yeah, I'm excited to get out of the bar scene. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just kind of past that point in my life,
I
and
feel
like
that.
it's a paycheck and it suits me. You know what I
Right.
mean? It's not a lot of hours, not that hard to work for
Flexible.
decent money. It's flexible,
Yeah.
right? But it's like I'm 34, man, and I got a family. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not chasing skirts. I'm not getting drunk. Like,
Yeah.
it's not my scene no more.
Right.
So it's just to just show up for a paycheck there and just take away from all the classes I could be doing, all the training, the drilling, the you know, the fight game I could be doing is just annoying. So
Right.
if I can cut that out, it'd be great. I mean, at least cut it back a lot.
Yeah.
So
Do you envision, a victory? Does that mean you can train full time?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, yeah, I pull off this dub. Like, we got a decent amount in the bank. We
Yeah.
can plot. My wife and I are very humble people.
Yeah.
Like, she's great. I can't say enough good things about Jen, man. Like, she's changed my life, and we see eye to eye on a lot of, like, you know, financial aspects of like what we want to
That's
accomplish for
that's
our
big.
family, yeah, and for our boy and stuff. So we know we have the same goals in mind, but we're not frivolous at all, and we're very humble. So like, even a small slice of this MMA pie, man, a small slice. I'm not talking Conor McGregor
Yeah.
money, you know what I mean? Will change my life.
And
And
it sounds
yeah,
like your family's the primary driver.
huge, man, huge for me. Like I said before, like, if people in the game, people who do fighting, can respect when they watch me fight, that's all I ever cared about.
Yeah.
Ever since I was like younger, like an amateur, a pre-amateur, before I even fought, I'd like watch fighters. I'd watch, and I would like the guys who are really good. I want to move like that guy.
Mhm.
You know, I want to do what that guy like. And then I want, when that guy watches me fight, I want him to say the same thing. So
Mhm.
I was doing it for the prestige of those in the know. Does that
Mhm.
make sense?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And so like that was really my driver of like a kind of a self.
like a purist.
Yeah, like because you're right. There's no money in the game,
Yeah.
especially in Muay Thai,
Yeah,
and that's
right.
another reason why I never pursued MMA, even though it was available to me. I didn't want to be a reality TV star. I
Sure.
don't want to be part of that, neck tattoo with a tribal and just the trailer trash look. It wasn't
Yeah.
my scene. You know,
Yeah.
I like the Muay Thai. I like the Muay Thai scene, how it was
Yeah.
kind of underground, and that's what I gravitated toward. And yeah, and it's just like that's where I put my energy into. And I even fought MMA when I wasn't hardly training any grappling because I could get fights.
Oh
You
yeah,
know
I
what
did
mean?
wonder about that. So when you
Mhm.
were training or when you were fighting primarily Muay Thai, Lion Fights
Mhm.
Glory, I mean, were you doing grappling at that time, or were you focusing
I
full
was.
time? Okay.
I mean, when I fought for Lion Fights in Glory, that was more kind of near the end of my Thai boxing stint. I think my pro debut, I don't remember the years now, man, but it was a
Mhm.
long time before that. And there were like gaps where there wasn't any Thai boxing fights, you
Yeah.
know? And so then I would take an MMA fight because and I wasn't taking it seriously. Obviously, I would treat it the same way I was treating Muay Thai, but just because I remember my first MMA fight, well, not my first one, but second one, I kicked the dude in the body, and it was in a cornfield in like Wisconsin, and he fell over, and it was it. And like the kid who came with me, I taped my hands in the car before. We were like smoking a bowl, like
Yeah.
I was just like a 22-year-old idiot, right?
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
like, and I was fighting other idiots, so like it was fine. And I was like, these guys can't do anything; they're terrible. And then my third fight, a dude took it real serious, and he watched a lot of tape on me. He was from like a rival gym, and he broke my nose and choked me
Oh,
out.
wow.
Yeah, and it was like the one where everyone was watching. It was
Was this
so
amateur or
embarrassing.
pro?
It's all pro. I've
Cool.
never been amateur MMA.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? So you
Yeah.
you got all your amateur experience in Muay Thai. You had
Muay
about
Thai,
the 20
yeah.
fights or so.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah,
So when
yeah.
did you go pro? Do you know?
Boy, yeah, you'd have to look that up.
I can tell you. 2008.
Eight?
September 2008.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Feels like ancient history, and it is. I mean, that's
9 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, 11
11
years
years
ago.
ago.
Wow. Cool. So
Right.
what an opportunity then now. I mean, I feel like,
Mhm.
you know, like you said, you might have taken a different path to get here than most, but your experience is very well-rounded. I mean, it's a good background to have. Yeah, maybe you don't have the college wrestling background of King Mo, but you went the other route. I mean, what is equivalent to college wrestling? I would say it's going and training Muay Thai and getting your amateur experience in Muay Thai.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the other end of the game.
It's weird. Like we're like with this fight, it's kind of interesting. Like we're like yin and yang. We're polar opposites, right? Like my career has been all the experience, all the focus on the skills and blah 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 blah, but like none of the exposure, none of the. I was at King Mo's debut fight. Wow. He had never had a fight, and he fought in Japan. He had the entrance with all the girls and stuff. I was cornering Logan Clark, another dude from the Midwest.
Was that Pride?
No, it was Sengoku, I think. Okay. It was a Dream. I don't remember. It was one of those like splinter Japanese promotions. But yeah, I was there and I was like, this guy doesn't have any fights. I was like, that's weird. And he knocked out Travis View. And it was weird because he was like the main event and he had no fights, but he had that college wrestling pedigree where like he can like, sell himself on that.
Oh, you're right. I mean,
he blew through the guys.
Travis, you said?
Travis View, he's like a huge journeyman. He's got like 100. He fights every weekend. Like that.
I mean, he was in Strikeforce his 5th fight.
Yeah. He went in fast and hard and and he had all the exposure. And props to him, man. He made money in the game. Yes. You know what I mean? Like he's made a name for himself.
He was on the cover of magazines when I first started. In his throne with the crown on.
And he had a shtick. You know what I mean? Shtick, and he stuck to it.
He didn't even fight that often.
No, like Rampage said it. Like he put the chain on you and he told Faber like, do this. Like you need a shtick to like sell to people. You know what I mean? Sure. And that's King Mo, the crown and the robe, And that's
but you feel like you've never really wanted to do that.
I've never done that. That's not who I am. It's never who I've been. Yeah. But I props to him for doing it. I can't hate on it.
Right.
Like it's good.
Yeah, exactly.
Done well. But
more power to him.
Yeah. So not only in styles, but in terms of where our careers are at, and in terms of our backgrounds, everything is just like we're on the opposite ends of the spectrum.
How interesting.
Yeah. It's really fascinating. So. Yeah, weird. It's not something I ever expected. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So who have your, being that he is a wrestler, again, Elevation has a good wrestling, but who are your primary training partners for this fight, for fight camp? Yeah, for fight camp, Sonny Yan's been real helpful to me. He's a really good wrestler. He's had he's a really good fighter too, honestly. And he's trying to build himself back up for like kind of a comeback fight. He had a loss and he took his time away and he developed his skills, but he's been super helpful. He's a Minnesota wrestler guy too, actually. Okay. Like University of Minnesota or just from
U of M?
Wow, nice.
Yeah. And so he's been helpful. Dave's been helpful to me. I worked with Grant Neal, who's fighting on the same card. I had sparring rounds with him. Not a lot, but like, a bit.
And he's another middleweight. That's
he's a light heavyweight.
Light heavyweight, yeah.
Yeah, Grant Neal's a beast, and it's his pro debut in Bellator, and he's a beast. Yeah. Like he's gonna blow through whoever he fights. Doesn't even matter. But yeah, like Lance, the other big middleweights. A newer guy, Ryan's around now. I've been getting runs with him. Neal's always a tough go. Stylistically, it's not what I'm looking for, but
sure.
I'm always getting good rounds in with lots of high-level people. So, like, I get looks in with Curtis. Curtis is very polite to me. He doesn't blow my face off. This scar's from him, actually. But he's very cool. Everyone's real helpful. So, like, just it's more just getting the looks in, getting the cage rounds in. And just
because, I mean, at this point, you've developed your skills. I mean, of course, you're always learning, but your skills are pretty set, developed. It's more just fine-tuning everything going into this fight. Would that be fair?
Precisely, yeah. And peaking. So I feel like I'm physically peaked. Like
and that's where Landau comes in.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm physically like at as strong as I can be. But yeah, a lot of it's mental reps, shadow boxing, visualization, making sure my recovery's on point. Just trying to check all the boxes.
What do you do for recovery?
Sleep, chill, quit my job.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, though, more time off the feet, more rest. In Thailand, you spent time in Thailand.
Yes,
you fought 4 times, full rules Muay Thai over there. I mean, that's the lifestyle, right? They wake up in the morning, they train, they go rest and eat, and that's it. They're laying around, and then
People
they go train again.
People in America don't have any idea how different it is and how just the perspective. This is the first time I was out of the country. Yeah. So like the perspective shift of like, because Americans are generally quite insular. I mean, unless you're someone who travels, like you don't see the rest of the world and you think this is normal. And like you go to Thailand, you see poverty. Like you see what real poverty is. You know what I mean? You see what real struggle is. I mean, a lot of these Thai kids, I wasn't at a lot of those camps. I was at a bigger gym in the city. I was in Bangkok. Whereas all the kids that were at my gym at Kapel Samrit, they were all fighting in stadiums or on TV. So they were at a very high echelon of Thai boxers. But, you go to like a rural place
Right.
where these kids are fighting and they're slaves.
Mm.
Their family sells them into fighting,
Yeah.
and their money goes to their family, and the other money goes to the gym, and they just grind it out. And you have 30,000 Nakmoy in Thailand. It's like for someone to wrap their head around that, to realize the depth of like you have at a super high level, and then you have all the other ones that are low. Like you have tuk-tuk drivers and just bums and people who are just fighting for every weekend because it's not the same background game, the prize fighting game, like boxing. Like look at boxing culturally and compare that to like Thai boxing in Thailand, and then compare like MMA. Everything's got its own cultural bubble, you know, and they have some crossover. But yeah, it was a big eye opener for me, and for my role, like what I was doing when I was there too. Like there's a lot of foreigners coming in because it was a prestigious gym, and so, and you just see it's more about the money there in Thailand. Like that's the whole point. It's the gambling. You know?
No, it's not a pursuit of passion. It's it's their life.
Yeah, and there are kids. I don't want to say they're all slaves against their will. There's kids who like really like it and they dig it and they're about it. But there's also kids who just don't want to do it. They just like, crying and like don't want to be doing it because it's hell, it's super hard. And if you don't want to do it, ooh,
you see that in American wrestling sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. There's crossover. No doubt, right? Yeah. That's the parents just pushing their poor kids. But and at the same token, it's a balance, right? Like makes for strong people.
Agreed.
So,
yeah. It's a tough balance to think about. Would you have your son do martial arts?
He's for sure going to know how to wrestle. Like for sure he's going to know how to wrestle. He will absolutely be able to defend himself physically. Like that's going to be no question. But he can pursue whatever he's going to want to pursue. If he wants to be a ballerina, I don't care. Like if he's happy and he's doing what he wants to do, that's cool. I'm more concerned about making his mind strong, and I think honestly that's why wrestling, I'd want to put him in wrestling because it's something that doesn't traumatize your brain so bad, but it makes you stronger mentally, in your mind. So I mean, I'm not one of those parents who's going to be living through their kid. I'm trying to make my mark myself, and then, and be content when I'm done.
Absolutely.
So he can live his life and be himself. So yeah.
And you spoke to the idea that you're generally ready to fight. You've always prided yourself on that in your career, the ability to just take the phone call and step in there.
Absolutely. And I even did it when I shouldn't have.
Sure.
I made stupid decisions for sure.
So you have to have a good diet for that. I mean, what does your diet look like? How do you keep how do you keep it clean?
Ooh, you gotta fix the mic. I honestly, man, it's not that clean. Like, or at least it is now more. I'm eating a lot more homemade food. My wife cooks for me. She's an excellent cook.
So you know what's going into it.
Yeah, exactly. So we just, we get some good food and then we just balance it out. I still eat food from work, which is fried food and stuff, but I try to do salads and things like that. Diet-wise for me, never really was like a concern. I felt like I would just eat and be happy because I was always kind of a bit ectomorphy. Like you couldn't really tell I was out of shape by looking at me. You know what I'm saying? Some people get soft or they get puffy or whatever. But me, it's like I always look similar, but I know when I'm in shape and not in shape. But yeah, I would, like when I worked at my other job in Minneapolis at the bar too, but they'd hook it up. They knew I was a fighter, so they'd give me like big old salads with a bunch of meat on it. And I ate good. I focused on my food, I think just more as like a foodie, like a recreational thing. So just by default, I end up eating good.
Because you care.
I still eat junk. Like I still eat like a lot of frozen pizza and stuff like that. But as long as I feel good, and I feel, and I have a sweet tooth too. So
pretty natural though. I mean, eating food. You're okay with eating the bad foods as long as you're eating the good foods and you're getting your rest as far as recovery is concerned.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's just more about, because I never had to worry about my weight either. So
tell me about that. I mean, this fight's at 195 pounds, so catchweight, but you normally fight at 185. Right. But your own words, you said that you're kind of smaller for middleweight.
I've made 180. I've never gone down to welterweight before.
What are you walking around at?
I'm usually about like 195. About what the fight would be at. 196 maybe if I'm a little putting on muscle. But no, I float about the same weight all the time. So about that.
So you won't have to cut really for this fight?
No. I'm still gonna do a little bit just for the ritual.
Yeah. What do you normally do for a weight cut?
Like a sauna, and first I'll put on all the Abilene or whatever, and then I'll suit up.
Thai style,
yeah. I'll put on all the Abilene. I'll suit up, and I'll fast like 24 hours for the full 24. I'll put on the sauna suit. I'll go on either an elliptical or like a rower or something or maybe I'll run. I've done it all kinds of ways, man. I've done it in a hotel shower when I cranked up the heat in the shower and shut the door and just sweat there. I've just run around a hotel with the suit on, whatever's available, during all the times I've done it. But it's not a huge cut, but like I'll do that. I'll sweat, and then once I'm really starting to sweat a lot, maybe then I'm getting kind of and I'll take it all off, jump in the sauna, and I'll usually kind of can feel when my body's right, hitting around that 180, 184, 185. Yeah.
And
mark.
so you'll just go through the motions for this fight, kind of get you
Yeah.
mentally there.
Yeah, exactly.
Check
Just
the
kinda,
box.
yeah, sure, exactly. I mean, yeah, exactly. I'll just kind of hang out and do my thing and just treat it like it's like another fight. You know what I mean?
So then does diet even change inside of camp now?
No, my diet's always the same. No,
Yeah.
I mean, as long as I feel, it's more about just having energy and feeling prepared physically. I know a lot of guys cut a lot of weight, and a lot of people have different approaches. You know, I mean, some guys do well when they move up and they're like bigger then, and they don't have to worry about it so much. And some people it affects them more and less. And me, nah, it's just never been a concern. If they had a weight class that was like between 170 and 185,
Right.
I'd be like, all right, I could do that. And then I might diet, and then I might see how I can change my body. But the way it stands now, to like do all that, plus financially, I'd need to like be really on point with always making sure my nutrition was there. If I tried to go to like 170, because I'd have to have all my energy. You know, I can't just deplete myself and then be.
It'd be a big cut.
It'd be a huge cut, man. I'm like waking up at 195. That'd be like a 25 pounds. Ooh, and I'm not like
more than
chubby. I'm like,
yeah.
like, and it's on my butt and legs. I just like all sucked in. It'd be awful. I could do it if there was money for me to do it.
Sure. Have you ever felt like in the fight that the guy was bigger than you and you felt it? Nah.
That's
not
never
worried
been a
about
concern.
it.
No.
Cool.
I've definitely had feelings in a guy, like engaged with a lot of fighters where I can feel them, how they're not good. Like I can feel they don't move well. You know what I mean?
Well, I think that comes from Muay Thai a lot too.
Sure.
I mean, you've been in that clinch position with so many guys, and dude, some of those little guys throw people around more than the bigger guys.
On point, man. On point. Those little lighter guys, especially like you see that with jiu-jitsu. I think people who are, smaller people in martial arts who have been doing it a long time tend to, this is just a general rule, be more developed skill-wise because they have to go with all the big people. So like their jiu-jitsu, their Thai sweeps, their techniques are going to have to be on point. You know what I mean? They're going to have to be a little bit sharper than the guy who can kind of like muscle.
I think you see that with girls too, just slightly more technical because they're not knocking people out as much.
I think the female MMA scene has more to catch up, obviously.
Right.
I think that's just not as deeply developed as males, but
not
with time,
experience.
No, exactly. With time, and you see some superstars like Rose, like some other people.
But even then, like if she doesn't have more than 20 fights, I don't believe. I think she might be under 15.
No, exactly. And she's exactly. She's not as experienced, but she's mentally strong because she has a lot of experience around her.
Yes.
And so she's also approaching it from a cerebral perspective of improving her game. She's also like ruthlessly self-critical, so always fixing this, fixing it, fixing getting better. And I think that's a huge aspect from high-level champions, mostly in MMA, who are just like so critical of themselves and they just get better and better and better.
Absolutely.
And you'll see the female MMA game catch up, and it is a bit already, but it needs just a little bit more fuel. It needs to give it 5-6 years. It'll be coming close.
Well, and you talked about the brains she has around her with Trevor Whitman, Pat Barry's experience, but Trevor Whitman, now people are finally seeing how smart he is. He's doing the commentary on ESPN, UFC sometimes, in between rounds.
Yeah, he knows the game in and out. He's got that boxing
Gage's
brain.
Coach.
Yeah, he knows a lot of it. So and he's also good to have on the mic because he's very colorful.
Right.
I mean, he's entertaining, right? So he has some funny things to say, which is it's an entertainment sport. Yes. Like it or not. So.
Yeah. So take me back to the beginning of your career. So I mean, when did you decide you're going to be a fighter? I mean, 17, you take your first Thai fight, but what was going through your head?
Oh boy, it seems like a long time ago. It is a long time ago. Let's see. No, the reason I got into it is I had a homeboy, Tom Trout now, who in high school, we were in a weightlifting class. They had classes for lifting weights. Can you believe that?
Oh, wasn't it?
Is it 10th? Were you? Yeah. I was at 11th or 10th grade. I can't remember. Anyway, he's like, hey, you want to come do Muay Thai with me? And he's like, and I'm like, what's that? And he's like, it's like Sagat from Street Fighter, bro.
Yeah,
I'm like,
it is.
Cool. I was like, cool. Yeah, let's go. I had no idea, dude. You know what was the catalyst for that though? Is we had in high school, gosh, this is like digging up some old memories. In high school, there was a fight club when I was 15. I was like a freshman in high school, and I moved from California. I never really kind of found a niche. I didn't sit in with the jocks.
Minnesota.
Yeah, when I was younger. So Minnesota, I consider still home, but like I was growing up and I was kind of awkward. I never was like with the jocks or the nerds or any. I was always kind of just aloof. anyway, so there's just a fight club that they did where like these kids would get together and fight. The movie had come out, so like we're gonna do that.
Yep.
So they would get together and like just fight each other, and they have fights, and then like, and this is before Tough. This is well before any like mainstream MMA shit. People knew what MMA was, and Tom, the guy who got me into Muay Thai, had like Pride tapes and stuff, and he watched it. He knew about it, but so he invited me. We went to the fight clubs thing, and what was my first fight? I can't remember. Oh, it was against Adam Bazama. Okay, his friend still. He's a wrestler, right? Big old fat guy. and Tom, my friend who brought me there, he thought I did Taekwondo because when I was little, I did.
Sure.
I did Taekwondo. So like they matched us up, and Bazama, and I was like, okay. And then Bazama gets down like in a wrestler stance, like real low, and then Tom goes, Jesus Christ, Kapel's gonna kick him in the face. Kapel's gonna kick him in the face. Like he thought I was gonna karate kick him or Taekwondo kick him in the face. I had no idea what I was doing, so I just get down like a wrestler. Never wrestled, know nothing about nothing, right? I'm just copying him. Bro, he just takes me down, lays on my face. I can't breathe, right? I panic, I tap out. So my first ever fight, first ever like organized fight, I tapped out from smother, right? I was like, you fucking kidding me? So, but for me, it's like my ego wasn't attached to it. I was like, oh, well, whatever. Yeah. Like I wasn't like hard ass. I didn't think that. I was like, oh, that was dumb. Like, and I didn't, it was whatever. Right. And then I think I had a couple more fights. I guillotined a kid one time. And then another kid, who was it? Jason Snyder headbutted me. He was the badass. He was like the local, he's a little Asian guy, right? I think he even fought in MMA eventually. But he was the Asian guy. And I fought him. And he took me down. He's a wrestler too. Just took me down, bro. And he had my arms pinned, and he just started like headbutting me in the face. That's probably broke my nose. Yeah, it probably broke my nose. And then the other big Sunil came in and like waved it off. Dude, I haven't thought about this or talked about this for a long time, right? This is ancient history. This is like pre-pubescent, or post-pubescent. Yeah, like 15
I feel like it's got to start somewhere like that, though.
So that was my second fight. So I lost the first fight to smother, second fight to brutal headbutts.
It doesn't get worse.
And the third one, no, it did. No, it didn't. Really. The third fight, I think I guillotined a kid. It was Snyder's like buddy, who was like a beta, right? With his beta. God, am I sweating in here?
It's pretty terrible. Warm. Okay, you look great though.
Oh, thanks. Cheers. It's the lighting. So yeah, I guillotined the kid. And then I fought Ben Sullivan. Okay, now Ben, there's like a handful. When you're in high school and there's like caricatures of people and like. They're kind of like archetypes in your mind of like a certain type of person and like that goes with you for the rest of your life. So Ben Sullivan was kind of like this hippie guy and he's gone his own journey, but he was a badass, right? He's the only one that did Muay Thai.
I see.
So he probably like saw a tape and like hit a bag in his garage. Like he didn't do shit. He didn't know, but he was big, lanky dude, had a build for it. And I can't remember what happened, but we fought and we had to move the fight club from the park because all the kids were coming to watch. Mm-hmm. And so the cops would break it up. So we had to like go somewhere. So we went to someone's backyard. So for this fight, I fought him in someone's backyard and I came out all like sideways. Like I didn't know what I was doing, dude, but I wasn't scared as fuck. I was game. So he just kicks my leg like two times really hard. I'm like, ugh. And I kind of went forward and tangled with him. And I kind of like threw some half-hearted. He had me in like a headlock, and I threw some half-hearted elbows, and I think he took pity on me and choked me out, and just choked me. And so I went 1-3. I beat one kid, and I lost 3 in my first fight club experience.
But this is before you had even gone to
any training, no training, no nothing. I knew nothing at all.
It's just a taste.
It's just like a social thing. I was going to go to fight club with the guys, whatever.
I mean, are you starting to like him, or are you starting to think?
I didn't think anything of it. I was like, okay, whatever. It's just social things. Like I went to Muay Thai with Tom because it was a social thing. It's like, oh, this is my buddy. I'll go do what this seems cool. Mm-hmm. Like it's like video games, but for real. Yeah. And so it was cool. And then I got into Muay Thai and we didn't know. We wore like the Century MMA gloves. Do you remember those?
They like went over the fingers.
Yes. And it's like we didn't know. And we went to the Cali group and they had Rick Faye's like a legit, martial artist. And so we learned some actually decent techniques and they had the big old fat Ken pads. You know none of those pads? Ken, they were like huge and like really hard and heavy. But yeah, and then we got into it. And then eventually like I got in with Minnesota Martial Arts Academy and the rest is history. But it was a weird start, man. Like I didn't have and then I had my first amateur fight and I lost that one too. It was against a guy who was kicking a pole. We were in the basement. Of an Iowa cornfield. It was like a bar and we were in the basement to warm up and it's a cornfield, right? And it's just a ring out in a cornfield. And I remember like because our corners at the Cali group, they didn't really do fighters. They didn't have fighters and stuff, but Tom and I wanted to fight. So they managed to do it and get it set up because they didn't like to deal with fighters. They didn't want to. It was just like I don't want to say a hobby gym, but it was like people who did like Jeet Kune Do and Jun Fan and that kind of stuff. But we were doing Muay Thai. And I remember I was like, because they match people when they all show up. Like, you don't know who you're going to fight. And they match people according to whatever weight. And I remember saying, like, sitting at the table when we were, like, eating lunch, I was like, I want to fight the baddest person they got. I want to fight the baddest. Who's the baddest? I want the best fighter they got. Like, I didn't know. It wasn't that I thought I was good, but I wanted the hardest dude to beat up, right? Or to beat me up, whatever. Yeah. And I did. I fought the dude who had, like, 5 fights or something, I think. And he had, like, just a bunch of tattoos, right? And to intimidate me, we were all warming up in the basement. He would kick the pole. He'd be kicking the pole. Yeah, he'd be kicking the pole, like ding, ding. And I remember sitting there. I was like, motherfucking pole ain't gonna kick you back, bro. And I was just like, and he thought he was intimidating me. But I was like, I'm not intimidated. I'm gonna kick you back. And I lost the fight, but it was bullshit because I slipped and they gave me an 8 count because there was ring card girls that were walking with ring cards in between rounds and they had white shirts on. So the crowd had super soakers.
Oh no.
This is a real story. They had super soakers. So they were spraying these girls with the white shirts on, Yeah. And so the ring was wet. And so like I slipped. I slipped on and it was a god awful fight, I'm sure. I don't even remember seeing tape. I don't even know if there was tape. But like it was probably trash fight. But the guy was not good either. The guy was terrible. But like we couldn't clinch. That was the thing. And I was taller and bigger, and so I couldn't clinch and knee him.
So it's just a kickboxing fight.
It was a kickboxing fight, yeah. But and that was another thing. He didn't have shin guards on when he walked to the ring, but everyone else was wearing shin guards. And I had the shin guards and the booties on. I didn't know. Like, that's what they just put on me. Yeah. And then the ref was like, wait. And he looked and he's like, you don't have, he's like, you can't, he has to put them on or you have to take them off. He can't be both. I was like, fuck it, take them off. Take them off, And I was like, and so took off my things. And I lost the decision because I slipped because they gave me an 8 count, but it was BS. And I was told by everyone there that I won that fight. But it was, that's so ancient history, man. We had no idea what we were doing.
But you ended up doing about 20 Muay Thai fights in your amateur career?
My amateur career changed a bit. Like I eventually, after I lost twice to Ryan Murray, who was like a really local bad motherfucker. He beat me up twice. The first time really bad, and the second time I rematched him, I did a lot better, and it was like a smoker fight or whatever. But after that, I was like, I need to come here and train. Like these guys know what they're doing. I'm gonna come here, and this is how I'm gonna get better. So I did. I made the move to Minnesota Martial Arts Academy, and that's where I built the majority of my skills. I traveled too. I trained with a lot of people, but that's where I really honed my craft for the most part. I feel like I've reached a new level now here with elevation. So
constantly, right? You're just adding skills to your tool belt. But
true.
So when you were fighting those Muay Thai fights, those 20 amateur fights, you said you never had an amateur MMA fight. So were you working on other things, or was amateur career just Muay Thai?
Yeah, it was just Muay Thai. I remember my first experience with, man, I have so many stories for you. I'm sorry, Dan. I'm hitting you with it, bro. I remember my first experience doing MMA stuff because I'm a Thai boxer, and I had the 18s on, and there was a dude who had a fight coming up, fighting another striker. So he wanted me to jump in with their MMA practice.
How old were you at this time, you think?
Boy, I'm in my early 20s for sure. Yeah, it was before I left for Thailand.
Okay.
Was it before? Anyway, yeah, early 20s for sure. Like 21, 20 maybe, probably 20. And anyway, I tried to hit him, I chased him into his guard, and I knew what guard was. I watched a little bit of UFC and all that, but I was trying to hit him, and he just armbarred me.
Oh.
And I was like confused. I was like, what the fuck was that? I was like, okay, don't be in his guard, I guess. And I was like, well, how do I hit him? I was trying to hit him, and he just so effortlessly armbarred me. And I was like, what the hell was that? I was like, this is terrible. I don't want to do this. I was like, he just would have broke my arm.
Yeah.
And eventually then I did get into it more and more. I was like, this is actually kind of cool. Like, I got to learn how to defend that. So I did. And then like, I did more grappling, but it was very like super informal. Like I do
MMA oriented.
MMA kind of like, it was jujitsu, but it was like, I didn't put the gi on a bit until I came back from Thailand. Okay. Then I put the gi on, and then I took it much more seriously.
So you do have formal jiu-jitsu training?
I did, yes, in the gi, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So that's where, I have more of that than wrestling experience. Yeah. So I did that. I put the gi on when I got back to Minnesota, and I put the belt, and I got my blue belt, and then I got my purple before I left.
Cool.
But I didn't really pursue it in terms of like getting better jiu-jitsu. I was just doing it. And at that point, by the time I got my purple, I was doing a lot more MMA and things were changing. But
Yeah.
yeah, my first exposure to like MMA practice was getting armbarred by some guy when I was trying to punch him with my 18s on.
So when you took your first pro fight, I mean, were you doing MMA at that time?
My first pro fight in Muay Thai or in
did
MMA?
that come first? Muay Thai came first?
Man, I would have to really think about it. I think I had a pro MMA fight before I had my pro Muay Thai fight.
Okay.
I took my pro Muay Thai fight a lot more seriously.
Sure.
Back then there wasn't a huge distinction between pro and amateur MMA. It was just a fight. Yeah. And like it's pro because it's on Topology now, but like I had a couple fights too that must have been amateur because they aren't on Topology, and they were on. Those were my first two. My first fight online is a loss, but I had 2 wins in MMA before that. The cornfield guy that fell over with a kick, and then another guy who was a karate guy who was actually that's it. Now I remember. I had my first MMA fight when I got back from Thailand because I showed up at a friend's in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. I showed up and I was just going out there to party and drink on the weekend because that's what I did. Mm-hmm. I went to my friend's college town and partied with them. But I was there and I was probably drinking a beer or whatever. And they're like, hey, a 205er dropped from the card. Do you want to fight? And I was like, and it was some small, like, Hilton show or whatever. I was like, take me up. You know what I mean? I was like, yeah, let's just do it. And all I had was my tie shorts because I was going to train the next day. I was going to work out with them. And I put my tie shorts on and I just, same as my first fight, I didn't think anything of it. And I just went in there and didn't know any of grappling at all. Like I knew very little grappling. Like, and I smoked him. I knocked him out with the hook. Nice. Like he was like a judo karate guy. And I remember I jabbed him and he like yelled. He was like, ah! And I just like popped him in the face again with the jab. And I remember mentally when I was in that fight, all I wanted to do was like elbow people. Yeah. Because in amateur Thai boxing, you couldn't elbow. So in Thailand, you could, right? And so I've been practicing them so much. Yeah. And I kept trying to like land elbows and like it kept missing. And I was like, God, this is annoying. So then I just like punched him and knocked him out. He's just some scrub. But yeah, and that was influence on me where I was like, these MMA guys are not. Because even in amateur Thai boxing, like, they're there to kickbox. Yeah, they're gonna throw down with you a bit. Mm-hmm. I had finished most guys too, but they take something. And then I had the second fight and I kicked the dude in the guts and he falls over and I'm like, what's the point of even training? This is so easy. Thanks for the money. Bye. Yeah. Like that's what we did when we drove off. Like me and my stoner friend would just yell at the window, thanks for the money. And like just so we were just so like
so at that point in your life,
so
are you thinking like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to be a professional,
No, I didn't know what I was doing with my life. Are you kidding me? I like went to Thailand. I knew I didn't want to like waste time going to community college because that's what I was doing. And I just worked a job enough to save up to go to Thailand, and I just work a job enough to save up to go somewhere else. And
so when did it become real? Is it just real now? Like when did you decide this is a thing that
to pursue like fiscally? Well,
or maybe even not fiscally, but mentally, where you're all in. I mean, it sounds like you're kind of all in from the beginning.
I was kind of, I was all in, but I wasn't taking it seriously in the way I would detract from other things that I wouldn't take away from something else that might get in the way of fighting. I wouldn't sacrifice. I'd still party and drink. I'd still do whatever I wanted to do, and I'd still train hard because that's what you do. You train hard. But I didn't think of it as like I never thought of myself as an athlete, right? Like I'm not needing peak performance to like physically beat someone because I always thought of martial arts as like skills. It's like I have skills. You can be a CrossFit freak, right? And I'm still gonna KO you. Like it won't matter. It won't matter that you can run 1,000,000 miles an hour. Like so that was my mentality to my detriment for a long time. You know what I mean? So that was kind of my approach to that whole side of it in terms of like how seriously am I taking it? I feel like I always took it seriously. Yeah. But I didn't cut back on anything else that was like that you would consider like not a good thing to do if you were a professional fighter. You know what I'm saying?
So when did that start? When did sacrifice start?
Sacrifice. Well, no, I think it was just a lifestyle shift. Yeah. Like priorities changed. Yeah. I mean, I'm not interested and I still haven't been interested in like, because I worked at a bar. So it was easy. Like it was part of my life. Like I'd be drunk at work. Like, so, and I never really went out to bars ever. I still don't. I never have, but I worked in one. So like I'd be drinking at work and like, so 3 days a week I'm drinking and then I'm, obviously smoking pot and like just living my life, just doing my thing and pursuing my pursuit of passion, and that's kind of what it was. And I would work just enough to like save up to go travel or do something else. My mentality, I was very much aware that I was on like a vision quest of my life. Like I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I thought I was going to die young. I was kind of nihilistic about the world, you know. Yeah, I feel like that's long in my history now that's passed.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, just the way you're describing fight camp and the way you think about things right now.
Oh,
I
now
mean,
it's like 100%. It's a
huge
100%
contrast.
flip. Yeah, I'd say that happened before I moved here. Obviously, that's why I moved here.
Okay.
But yeah, not any more than like 5 years ago, really. Like when I probably hit around 30, like yeah, like or before even like 28, 29 is when I was like, okay, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Am I doing this for real? Like, am I doing this like? Because that's when I started seeing people like Conor McGregor, people making
Yeah.
money. I was like, whoa, there's a lot of money in this.
Yeah.
The amount of money I could make in this, then I could just retire. I could stop working.
Yeah.
It's been a long, long tail. You know what I mean?
So what is your goal now?
Make money. You know what I mean? That's the goal.
Get paid.
Like get paid. Like that's why I didn't care if it was, I don't care if it's Bellator, I don't care if it's UFC. I just want to make a mark, get out there, make my I feel, and you know what it is, man? It's not make money. I mean, it is make money. That's the point. Like that's what I'm in prize fighting business. You know what I mean?
That's right.
But like, but for me, still going back to my roots, like it's to be content with my life, like with my career, because the career isn't your life, right? Like once the career's over, like I want to be content with like I did what I could do with what I had as best as I could do it, and I put it all in. And and I was content with that. I thought that's what was so frustrating about this past couple of years, because like I thought if it didn't happen for me, then it's gonna because I got injured, or it's because I took a loss at a bad time, and then it's gonna be over, right? You're not gonna have money. You're gonna be a journeyman, and that's it. Or so might as well walk, and just get into teaching and transition your life, you know. But it wasn't that. It was politics, and that was so nauseating.
Yeah, I could imagine.
Oh, it's like
you hear about it in boxing all the time.
Oh my goodness, yeah, these guys that get locked out of their contracts for like 6 years. It's like your window for
big names too.
Yeah. What was it? What was it? Ward that was
Triple G, Ward. Yeah.
And it's like, and you only have so many years in boxing, especially where you have your peak time. And once you're past your peak time, especially with boxing, it's like there's no coming back from that, and that's your window to make your millions of dollars to retire on. You know, but then again, you have boxers just blowing cash like that too. So who knows? But for me, it was like, it was. It's the goal is to be content that I got where I needed to go. And like I said, we're humble. So like, if it's not even that much money, that's cool. Like, if I can get something started, man, if we can get like a house, like a small house, like a real tiny one, like really tiny, like not big, but like something that like, you know, maybe a duplex that we can rent out. So like the mortgage is covered, something, some start at life. Cause right now we do not have a life. You know what I mean? We're just barely scraping by. And it's like it's all hinging on this. So
well, do you that brings up a good point. I mean, are sponsors available for a fight like
you know
this?
what? And that's another thing I probably could be pursuing.
But it would require more selling on your part.
What it is like, first of all, I don't have a big Instagram following. And that's what they want these days.
Okay.
Number two, it's like, yeah, I will. I'm going to pursue that after this fight. I'm going to pursue that and see what we can build. And yeah, exactly. When I have, 10K or 20K or whatever, then it's like, yeah, okay, now I can sell you something. But for now, it's just, it'd be a lot of legwork. And I've never pursued a sponsorship angle. My sponsor was my job. You know what I mean? And that's on me. Like, it's just not, I didn't think of it the same way. I didn't think of it as a business. I thought of it as just an endeavor. And I've never really been fiscally minded. Like, like I said, I'd save up enough money to go travel and then do it again. Like that's starting to change as I'm getting older. But yeah, it's not something that I'm exploiting right now, but I will in the future for sure.
Cool. Well, and you mentioned before the show again that you just signed with a new manager and that
I've never had a manager. That's another reason why I've never really gone anywhere with my fight career. Is that I've never had someone managing me, so I've always been brought in by someone else or like just got on a fight because it was available. But yeah, Monty Cox is my manager, and he's a legend in the game. He's on the backside of it now. He's not is involved, but in terms of forming MMA to what it is today, he's been involved in massive amounts of deals. He's got a book coming out too. He'd love me to plug that shit in this podcast.
Check it out.
For sure. Yeah, right. It'll be interesting read. I mean, if you're into like MMA and the history of it and stuff, it will be good reading. But yeah, man, it was a big move. I had to do it. I probably, in hindsight, even. I should have done it sooner. I should have had a manager before I moved here or when I moved here. Like, look, this is what you're working with. Put me on, I'll perform. But it is what it is. So we're at where we're at.
No,
and this is my chance. So
and it's finally been incredible experiences. So
yeah,
if you could give a tip to a young aspiring fighter, what would be the best tip you could give them?
Bro, like know thyself, right? What's that in the Matrix when he points at the thing? I don't even know what it says, but it's know thyself in Latin, right? I mean, what are you doing this for? Like, what do you want out of this? Like, who are you? What do you want? Like, that's what it is to me. I mean, I can only say what it is to me.
Yeah.
And it's for everyone else is what they are. And I think the best martial artists, the champions, the people I know who will be champions, they are people who are on that pursuit. They want to know who they are. They want to challenge themselves. They want to push themselves. And I think to some degree, everyone who's a competitor has that. But it's all about the bigger picture of where you see yourself in the greater, in the whole. So I don't know. That's all I'd say, man. And like, yeah. And if you want to do MMA, wrestle, you know what I mean? Do that and box. Be good at getting hit, or not getting hit, really. But yeah. I mean, in terms of skills, like that can come with a lot of places. It's just know yourself, know what you want to accomplish. Ask yourself why you're doing it for, and that can change. You know,
of course. So it's a journey.
Yeah, I'd say, man, it's very individualized. Like if it's just a random young fighter, like what am I gonna tell him? Like I gotta watch YouTube. I mean, there's so much, practice. Go to class. Yeah. Go to jiu-jitsu class. Like, what do you want me to tell you?
I think it's
a long path.
Yeah. Well, to help you build some followers, how can people follow you online?
I'm Kapel kicking it. It's Kapel. It doesn't have two L's, but it's Kapel. You can call me Kapel or Kapel. I'll respond. But it's
Kapel.
Kapel, and then underscore, and then kicking with one I. You'll find me, but it's KICKN, I think.
Cool.
And then underscore it.
Maybe a blue check after this fight.
Yeah, sure. I don't care. I really don't care, man.
Just makes it easier for people to find you.
Yeah, the check that clears is what I care about.
Right,
you know what I mean? The paycheck is what I care about.
Oh man, what an opportunity for you coming up against King Mo on November 8th. Bellator, is it Oklahoma?
Yes, it's in Thackerville, Oklahoma. It's a huge casino. Nothing else there. So yeah, it's just
go watch the fights.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Well, check them out. And thanks for watching. You can check us out on Instagram at PrizeFightBiz. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, The Prize Fighting Business, and go follow Andrew Kapel online.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much, Dan.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it, brother.
Thanks.